What's up, everybody out there in social media world? You got the Gist crew back in here, Jacob, Chelsea, Cody.
So today we've got a Q&A coming at you hot. We've got some questions in. We're going to be going over those, and we're going to see what happens.
Oh, the better place, draw lanes around me. I seen it from the ground. Talking outside of Queens and the rings are rainy, the cameras in around. Just take the check from the boomer, baby. I know where we abound. But the hope is that hell frozen, baby. I seem to be unfazing just because the mood is raising. Isolate on dose and Mason, immolate. I'm the autophagy.
So, what's the first question?
First question, how do you balance being an older adult and just starting from a couch potato with pushing your body and not risking injury?
All right, thanks, Rebecca, for the question.
Hi, Mom.
It's definitely a very good question, and we have a lot we can say about it. First thing that I want to bring up is just a little study. I'm just going to give you the name of the researchers and the title of it. I won't go into the study specifically for time's sake, but if you want to check it out, and just so you know that we're not just telling you this stuff. I mean, we're going to try to bring up if I bring up a certain sort of scientific point, I want to let you know there is research out there based upon this stuff. It's not just something that I'm just bringing up, out of the air. So there was a study done by two researchers named Andreas Iverson and Urban Johnson. The title of the study is The Psychological Factors as Predictors of Injuries Among Senior Soccer Players, a Prospective Study. And obviously, like I said, you can just Google that, and if you want to sit down and you're chilling and you want to read it, there's definitely a lot of neat things you can figure out, but I'll try to give you a base idea. The main thing they wanted to do was look at the idea of psychological factors on being injured. And your question is perfect for this right here, because what they seem to kind of find out is that the very fact of you thinking, I'm older and I might get hurt, that increases your chance of injury. It's a marketable noticed increase in these different soccer players they studied, and they looked at the people who had a high opinion of themselves, who were in good moods and were confident, and they looked at the people that were a little more like, I always get injured, these things happen to me, and they get injured more. So I think the first thing I want to tell you about how to prevent injury into getting in this is you need to take that thought of being injured and put it in the back of your mind. Another great resource to look at about this whole idea, it's called the biopsychosocial framework of pain, is a group called Barbell Medicine. It's headed by these two doctors, Dr. Jordan Feigenbaum and Dr. Austin Baraki. As these videos go on, we'll probably get more into detail about that kind of stuff, but it's really neat stuff. You want to look at it, and it's about realizing the psychological effect of pain, and that pain is not always a mechanical thing that's going on. It could be something in your head, and there's a lot of different variables we need to think about. If you're listening to if you're listening to these videos, if you're watching the YouTube videos on how to do this stuff, you doing these exercises isn't gonna hurt you. In life, sometimes we get hurt and we get injured. But if you get injured, it's not because you were exercising. These things happen.
So what can we do to help prevent injury? Priming or warming up before our workouts is a big key to this, and it's more important the older we get to get warmed up and ready for our exercise. You have a lot of muscle tissue and tendons that are connecting throughout different joints in the body, and during our workouts we're going to be using these joints. And if you're detrained or untrained, then those areas likely are going to be very tight. So it's very important that we get blood flowing and we get the mechanics worked out. So some of the keys to priming correctly are just going to be to get your core temperature up, get your heart rate up, things like jump rope, jumping jacks, just to get a baseline. And then once you have that core temperature increase and that heart rate increase, then at that point you can start figuring out what warm-ups you're going to do based on your exercises planned for that day. If a movement is very heavy involved in the hips, like squatting, then you want to make sure you really focus on opening up the hips and the knees. Any workout or exercise that you're doing is going to have likely different warm-ups because they're all different movements. So it's just very important that you don't just hop in there and get after it. You want to really make sure that you're taking it serious and getting ready.
Just to add as a side note, I love the idea of warming up too as like a mental preparation for going through, like warming up always gets me like I'm about to squat.
Right.
So whenever I get into my squats, I can focus on the movement and really make sure that I'm executing that properly. So that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
The last point we want to make on this is proper recovery is going to help you not hurt yourself.
Right.
So if you only slept 3 hours last night, you probably shouldn't be doing a 1 RM of your squat today. So the main key factors for recovery, and I'll just go through these really quickly. Sleep. You need to be sleeping at least 7 hours a night. Don't bullshit me. I don't care what you have to say about 4 hours. Sleeping 7 hours a night. In order to make sure that you're actually going to sleep 7 hours, you should be preparing for bed beforehand. So
Huge.
Blue light blocking glasses, turning off all the lights, not watching TV till the last minute, or at least wearing your blue blockers if you're gonna watch TV until the last minute. Nutrition is a huge factor. I think a lot of people miss their protein marks by a ton. If you don't know how much protein you should be getting, DM me and let's talk about it. But you should have a protein goal first and foremost, and you should be hitting that protein goal if you're going to be training. And that doesn't mean just lifting. I mean, you should be hitting your protein if you're running, if you're hiking, if you're biking. It doesn't matter, because protein is what repairs and builds muscle tissues and connective tissues in your body. So you need that. You need those nutrients in order to recover and to build muscle. So protein is a huge factor, but calories in general are also super important. If you are constantly eating in a caloric deficit, which I have a great post on this on my Instagram, you can go look it up, but if you're constantly eating in a caloric deficit, your body's not going to be able to recover as fast. It's just not. So that needs to play a factor in that. The last little bit on recovery, hydration. Water is so important. If you're not getting your water intake, then your body is not going to function properly.
But it doesn't taste good.
I didn't say you had to enjoy your breakfast. I just said eat it.
Just eat it.
Exactly.
Drink the water.
Drink
Drink
the water.
the water. It's good for you.
Drink the water.
So, nutrition,
Mhm.
sleep,
Mhm.
water.
Mhm.
But what about form? I mean, if I don't squat with an absolutely straight back and my back kind of turns a little bit, I'm going to break my back.
You're gonna
instantly,
break your
right?
back
I can't.
instantly.
It has to be perfect
It
form
has to be
with every
perfect.
rep. So
You should
that's-
just not work out.
Yeah,
You should
yeah,
not
Stop.
work.
No, so all jokes aside, form is important.
Form is important.
Form is important for multiple reasons, but the main reason that form is important is that it's going to optimize and be the most efficient way to perform that movement.
Right.
Meaning, if you don't do a squat properly, you're probably not going to activate your glutes or your quads, which is the whole point of doing the exercise, right? So form is important, but more important than form is appropriate loading
Right.
of your exercises. You need to load the exercise appropriately for your fitness level and for your experience level. If you don't know how to do a body weight squat, you should not be loading the squat until you know how to properly perform the movement. So just load your lifts appropriately, and you're going to minimize your chances of injury.
And our next question is from George. Shout out. What is the gist of GIST? What
That's a
do
good
we
question.
offer?
That's a great question. So if you haven't seen our introduction video, you should go watch that.
Yeah.
It's, you'll actually see that we're learning slowly how to do this whole process. But I'm actually going to read the answer to this question. This is pretty much our mission statement. I think it pretty much sums it up. So we are a coach, an electrician, and a plumber that just want to spread the right information to people trying to better themselves and navigate through the fitness industry. Unfortunately, there's so many myths and flat out lies in the fitness industry that it can be difficult to differentiate between someone who's genuinely trying to help you and someone who's trying to take your money. As a coach, I offer personal training services and will soon offer nutrition services. And as a group, we offer free educational material based on the science we study and anecdotal evidence of what's worked for us over the past few years. Really, we just want to share our experience as we grow so that others can see it happen in real time and understand the process and what to look for. GIST stands for Get Your Shit Together. We believe it's in the hands of every individual to take responsibility for their own actions and grow. There are no excuses. There are ways to navigate through every circumstance in life with grace and dignity, and perfection may not be attainable, but we'll sure as hell strive for it.
That's about as well put as it could be said, I think. Only little thing I will add is, what we're trying to bring is to bridge the gap between the fitness icons and the professional athletes that you see and everyday people. I see so many people that act as if, they'll say it to me personally, "Oh, Jacob, you're just an athletic person." And that's not the case. I was not this way before. And if you watch our introduction video, you'll get to hear a little bit more in depth about that. But suffice it to say that we are just normal people that started listening to athletes and to the right information. And we want that excuse, "Oh, I'm just not a fit person." We want to decimate that excuse from existence and make sure that everyone knows, no matter who you are, how old you are, your current fitness level, you can be fit and healthy. All right, and now our third question from Chris. Shout out, buddy. Dark Clan, heck yeah. His question was, any information or experience with intermittent fasting?
So I'm going to start this one off because I'm going to share just very, very quickly my personal experience with intermittent fasting. Coming from someone who has had eating disorders in the past when I was younger, I was anorexic and I had body image issues, and I tried intermittent fasting for a short while, and I found that restricting myself with the time periods of not eating led to binging. So psychologically for me, it didn't work. It was something that I felt like I struggled with. I thought about food all the time. It wasn't helpful in any way. So just as a precursor to some of the other information that we're going to give to you about intermittent fasting, if you are someone who has experienced eating disorders previously, or it is something that you find difficult, I would just say that that should be something in your mind when you experiment with intermittent fasting. And if you start to feel those feelings, you should you should talk to someone, because talking to someone is the best way to work through these things, but also you should just be aware that that can be a side effect of intermittent fasting.
Exactly, and here's the deal. There is no magic diet. There's no secret trick to being able to reach your goals. Intermittent fasting, paleo, or carnivore, vegan, flexible dieting. These are all just different ways to manipulate your calorie intake. At the end of the day, the most important thing is if you want to get bigger and gain more muscle, you need to be in a caloric surplus, and you need to be having sufficient muscle building stimulus sent to your muscles through resistance training or whatever form of exercise you find works best for you. And if you want to lose fat, you want to lose body weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit. So intermittent fasting can definitely help you be in a caloric deficit. But that's the main trick. All these claims that it does special things with your insulin levels and stuff like that, there's sort of research to it, but again, it is not exact science. So I think a lot of people take these sort of studies and they run with it. And I'm going to be honest, because a lot of them want to sell you something.
Right.
They want to say, you should use intermittent fasting, but you can't eat. But you know what you can do in your 16-hour window? You can drink my supplement. So you got to watch out for that stuff. But it can be a useful thing too. It's just, don't look at it like, oh, I have goals I want to reach. Here's the problem. Oh, let me try intermittent fasting. That's going to magically make me fit.
Right.
So for those maybe that are behind or just catching up, intermittent fasting basically is just a manipulation on your time window for when you eat. So basically they say that you are in a fasted state after 10 or 12 hours without eating. So if you basically chop your day up to where you're skipping breakfast or even lunch or however you want to formulate it, that you're eating in a certain window. So a super common window for intermittent fasting is the 16-hour fast with the 8-hour eating window. So you fast for 16 hours, then you have 8 hours to eat, and then after that 8 hours you fast. So you eat dinner at 7 o'clock at night, that's your last meal. This counts while you're sleeping, time in the day. You go to bed, you wake up, now you don't eat again until like 11 a.m. the next day. So you can do this in a variety of different hour splits, but probably the lowest you would want to go would be a 12-12 split, because if you go any beyond that, then you're not really getting the benefits of the fast. But whatever works. You can, the 16-8 is the most popular. You can do a 20 and a 4, but it's very important that if you're exercising and you're doing intermittent fasting, it's very important that you're eating enough to give yourself fuel for your workouts,
Right.
or you're really not getting the benefits of your workout.
And just to add, that's, like Cody said, it's a way to manipulate your calories. So if you're trying to lose weight, and let's say hypothetically you found your number, and right now your number for you to lose a healthy amount of body weight is 2,400 calories. If you intermittent fast and you don't eat for 16 hours, and then in those 8 hours you eat 2,700 calories, intermittent fasting did not do it. You can't eat more and still lose more weight. It's not a secret. It's
Right.
all still about keeping your number and helping you reach the goal you want by either being in a deficit or a surplus.
So to summarize,
You're not too old, get after it.
The gist is we're normal people. No excuses, make it happen.
intermittent fasting, there's no magic pill, put the fucking work in.
And get
Your shit
Together.